Welcome back. So today we're going to be doing a compression test on the M3. That's why we're idling it. It's idling kind of high. We deleted the secondary air pump system, so it's a little cold out here. We're just getting it up to temperature, but the reason we're going to do a compression test is because we found some metal shavings in the oil filter and coming out of the oil pan where we're draining the oil. So the idea is, one, to figure out where the car is damaged. Either it's the bottom end, bearings, piston rings, or it's up top, which is going to be the camshafts and the camshaft carriers or shelves. I have a suspicion that the oil that's in the car is brand new with less than 100 miles on it, and it smells terribly of gasoline. So it's contaminated, so we're getting gasoline into our engine oil, which is no good, because the engine oil can't do its job. It breaks down instantly once you introduce gasoline. So yeah, so let's do a compression test. Let's see what's going on with the engine. We're gonna pull the valve cover gasket off, see what's going on with the camshafts, and just try to poke around and see what we got going on. Full engine rebuild, maybe, I hope not. Some used components, swapping stuff out. Maybe some new coil packs, spark plugs, get the fuel injectors cleaned, figure out what's going on with this fuel issue in the oil, or we could just have some bad piston rings where it's leaking down through the cylinder wall and contaminating the oil. So yeah, let's get to it. I'm gonna run you guys through a compression test today, show you guys the numbers, and we'll go from there. All right, so after idling the car, we got it up to operating temperature. You wanna turn your car off, you're gonna let it sit for 5 minutes. And then we'll jump underneath the hood and get started on the compression test. First thing we're going to do is remove our coil pack. This happens to be 10 millimeter, which is the most common. Also too, on this particular coil pack, we have a ground strap. So just be aware of that. Make sure you remember where it goes. It only goes back in one spot. You really can't mess it up. And so we're going to repeat the process, and we're going to remove all 6. And just good practice, I just like to keep them in order. Throw them in the garage and put them back in the cylinders that they came out of. Okay guys, so we're going to pull out cylinder 1 spark plug to start. Carefully. Okay, got a little oil on it. So it looks like we have some oil passing the piston rings. Potentially, we're going to find out. But spark plug comes out. And then we're going to take our compression test gauge. You can pick this up at any local auto parts store. And we can thread that on. And I believe this comes out. It does. And this should make it a little bit easier to thread on. Just do it very carefully. And it doesn't have to be Hercules tight in there, just snug. And look, we have the wrong adapter on. See? This has multiple adapters. We're screwing up already. Ah, there we go. There's the dirty one. That's the guy we want. So we're gonna send this back in there. And then there we go. We got it to bite. Sometimes it can be a little tricky because this is flexible. You don't get good leverage. You don't need that much. So once it's tight, just give it, I would say, another full turn. Okay, now we're good. Then you're gonna hook your gauge up. Like that. Okay, so now we got our car up to temperature. We have our coil packs removed, spark plug is removed, and compression test gauge is installed in cylinder 1. There's one final step we got to take care of before we start the test. You're going to go under here to your fuse box. And now underneath your fuse box is a secondary cover. Okay, pop that off. And then it's going to be the relay furthest towards the front of your vehicle. And this is going to be the fuel pump relay. I'm going to wiggle that guy out. And this is so we don't flood the cylinders with fuel, when we put everything back together and start the car, that could be a problem. Now, one other thing you want to do is hook your battery up to either a battery tender or something similar, just so you don't wear this battery out, because we are going to be cranking each cylinder a number of times using the starter motor, which puts a big draw on the battery, and we don't want to hurt our battery or potentially kill it. So let's get started. We have our cardboard ready with the cylinders labeled, and then our pounds per square inch, and Noah's inside the vehicle, and he's going to crank it over about 8 times or so, kind of until we see the needle stop moving. It'll start to pulse, and we know that that's all that it's going to be able to hold for that particular cylinder, and then he's going to stop. All right, so cylinder 1 is holding at approximately 165. Now, I'm not going to bore you guys with doing the same thing over and over again for each cylinder, but this is the step and how you repeat it. Now, to release the pressure, just hold this button here, and now you're ready to unscrew this, throw your spark plug back in, and jump to the next cylinder. And like I said, we're going to record all our numbers here. Once I get all the cylinders taken care of, we'll cut back to this, and we'll kind of see where our engine stands health-wise, and see what our percentage difference is between each cylinder. Okay, so we have our final numbers. What I did for each cylinder was I kind of made a note about what was going on with the spark plugs. So the first 2 cylinders look normal, although the first one did have a little bit of oil on it. The remaining 4 cylinders looked a little bit rich to me. The spark plugs looked dark, and then the last 2 spark plugs had a little bit of oil. Now, in terms of the compression, you can see that we're pretty consistent here, which is good. We have an average of 165 PSI. Lowest being cylinder 3 and cylinder 5, highest 4 and 6. The good thing is that our low numbers aren't consecutive. That would tell you that your potentially head gasket is compromised. In any event, we took 160, we divided that by 170, 170 being what we would consider 100%, the highest value, and we came up to a 6% difference throughout the cylinders, which is not bad. 200,000 miles. Now, the numbers across the board aren't reading as high. We're not reading 180 PSI. We're not reading 200 PSI. But because of the mileage, I think that, and given the deviation between all, we're looking, okay. So to do some more investigation, we would have to perform a leak down test and potentially throw a bore scope down there. It's a small camera. Usually it's illuminated with a little LED light so you can see what's going on. And we would have to inspect the cylinder walls, see if there's any scoring or scratching or anything out of the ordinary in there that would indicate contamination of, this type of metal coming up through the oiling system or into the cylinder walls. So yeah, 6%. I think everything's looking good. So like I said, we got a couple more tests to perform. This is kind of the first step that we're going through to diagnose what's actually going on with the vehicle. Spark plugs, got to change them. They look beat. I don't know how many miles they've been in the vehicle. Those are the original set that we bought with the car. So we'll go ahead and swap those out, potentially send the injectors out to go get cleaned and make sure that they're in good shape, and replace the coil packs. We can change the oil, do another test, and make sure that, if we still have gasoline that's leaking down into the cylinders, contaminate our motor oil, we may have a bigger problem. The piston rings could be no good. But yeah, just stick with us. We're going to find out what the heck is going on with this vehicle. We're going to get this thing tightened up so it's running in top shape. And yeah, that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment if you have a hunch to what's going on. And if you want to, subscribe. We got some more videos coming at you soon. All right, thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.